Greetings YouTube, my name is Alex and I am the Reef Dork, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a product called Triton Pure 2.0. Triton describes this as a professional grade uncontaminated seawater salt mix. They say it gives consistency and balance by avoiding the separation of salts during transport and unintended chemical reactions between components, and that normal bucket salts contain trace elements of unknown types and quantities, whereas Pure 2.0 only contains beneficial trace elements formulated to approximate natural seawater. So basically, it's an alternative to traditional bucket style salts, and it gives you the exact major and trace elements that you get in the ocean. And those levels won't vary like traditional bucket style salts do when you get to the bottom of the bucket or even from batch to batch. Sounds pretty good so far, right? So what about the cost? Well, it's about £41 in the UK, and that gives you enough to make about 200 litres, so it works out at approximately 20p per litre. Alternatively, something like Red Sea Blue Bucket costs around £60 for a 22 kilogram bucket, and that makes around 564 litres based on 39 grams per litre, and that works out at around 10p per litre. So it's double the cost, which is fair to say is quite expensive. Let's see what it's like to use. In the box you get bags of individually wrapped salt that look a little like they were smuggled into the country from Colombia in the body cavity of a drugs mule. But they are actually sodium chloride, magnesium sulfate and magnesium chloride. You then get 2 bottles of liquid that Triton describe as liquid trace component and alkalinity/pH. They give you 4 bags of each salt, so you can make 4 batches of 50 litres. Straight off the bat, I can tell you that mixing it is a hassle. You start by measuring out 48 litres of RO water for each batch. Then you add each of the 5 parts one after the other. Some of them are clumped together, so take quite a bit of breaking down. The first one takes a lot of breaking down. On this occasion, in fact, it was a total pain in the backside. There were loads of lumps and they were all pretty solid. Now you could just dump them straight in the water, but it'll dissolve quicker in small pieces, and after adding each bag, you have to make sure it dissolves completely. As you can see, the first bag takes quite a while, even when heated and well stirred. You repeat the process for each bag, again making sure each salt is fully dissolved before adding the next. Because you have to add 5 separate ingredients, you can't just turn a pump on and let it mix for a few hours. Once you've done all that, you can then go about your usual water change. Although I would note the instructions say you should let it mix for 12 hours to avoid pH swings. Now I asked Triton if you could mix all 200 litres at once and store it. For a start, that would require a large storage vessel, but anyway, Triton told me they don't advise you to leave it for long periods. They say it presents a contamination risk and that you'd need to keep it aerated. Whether you do that or not, it's much more of a faff mixing this stuff than traditional salt mixes, and you have to keep reminding yourself that you're getting a salt mix with perfect levels. Now at this point you might be wondering what the levels of calcium, magnesium and so on are. Well, the blurb says that it is formulated to approximate natural seawater, but they don't actually tell you what that means. There's nothing on the box, in the manual, the mixing guide, the product guide, or even anywhere on their website. For a product that's sold on the basis of precision and consistency, it's odd that they don't tell you what the levels are. It's probably fair to assume the levels match the set point levels on the ICP test. And a quick Google will tell you what natural seawater parameters are anyway. I'd just rather they tell you claim numbers on the box. So is Pure 2.0 worth it then? Well, if you're using it for regular weekly water changes, it will start to get expensive. But if you're using it for something like Triton method or ATI Essentials, whereby you don't do regular water changes, or if you've got the budget, it certainly makes a lot of sense. You get the exact parameters you need, and that is invaluable. If I was setting up a new tank, I'd certainly think about starting off with something like this and getting off on the right foot. However, it's much more hassle to mix than regular salt, and it's not cheap, so there are downsides. ATI do a similar product called Absolute Ocean. That comes in just 2 bottles and looks much easier to mix. It's also slightly cheaper, but it is a little bit more difficult to get hold of in the UK. Ultimately though, I love the idea of having precise salt water that won't vary every time you do a water change, And given how important stability is, I'm going to say the pros outweigh the cons, and I'm just about going to give it a thumbs up. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for future content. And until next time, I've been the Reef Dog. Thank you, good night.